Beautiful day in the studios of Weekend Deal, Africa's biggest deal, and I believe you are having a fantastic weekend already. Well, let me start off with a story. Over the course of the week, I was rushing very early in the morning. I was rushing to go to work, and it rained the previous day, the whole day throughout the night, and I was rushing in the morning to go to work. Lo and behold, I came to a familiar place for me, but then it was flooded with water because of the rain of the previous day. And I felt it's a normal way for me, it's the normal road, I know the road. I just moved in, I continued driving, and then I just had boom, boom, boom. I was like, what is happening? But when I left that area, I scaled through the water, I found out that I broke my exhaust. Yes, flood, it's a really, really serious matter, especially when we look at 2012 to be precise. From July to November, it claimed about 363 lives and displaced 2.1 million people. If it is not an issue to be discussed, I don't know what should be discussed. Welcome to Weekend Deal, Africa's biggest deal. I am Aisha Maigarikana, and today our focus on Weekend Deal will be on flood in Nigeria and probable solutions. And of course, I'm not here alone. I'm here with the forever young Elizabeth.
You remind me of a song. All right, my name is Elizabeth, and Aisha, now I know why you came late, and I had to stand by for you to do a few things. Exactly. You never really told me the whole story. Exactly. I get it now. Truly, flood is something that bothers everyone, and a lot of times it's not just nature, it is man-made. Exactly. And of course, that's the reason why we are looking at it today, to ensure that we mitigate and ensure that 2021, it's not as bad as you projected. Exactly. Or you noticed in 2012.
The focus today is flooding in Nigeria and probable solutions. So to set the program proper, here is a backgrounder by Francis Ogbe.
From China to Germany and parts of the United States, countries across the world have been ravaged by deadly flood this summer, bringing widespread destruction in some cases to entire communities, some of which have never witnessed extreme weather like this.
Flooding is a global phenomenon. It is more devastating now than before for two reasons: because of the climate change as well as the global warming. You can imagine the so-called developed nations where they have all the infrastructures, they have the good roads, the good drainage, yet they are overflooded. So we are just in an era of flooding. We have China, we have Germany, we have even Italy, and so many other countries that were hit by flooding.
Nigeria, with over 200 million people, is the third fastest growing population in the world. The interactions of this build-up has left an indelible mark on the landscape and environment.
Human activities causes flooding seriously. A lot of waste are generated. The population is so high. A lot of waste are generated, and we are still living in the traditional method of refuse disposal, which is not going to help at all. We are always good in looking at a city and erecting good houses, malls, offices, and so on and so forth. Yet we are not considerate of the ways that we can be able to allow water to pass through successfully. The pattern of rain, like I said, has changed. You can have the quantity of rain that's supposed to fall for a week in just 1 hour. And that is why the prediction shows that we are going to have much rainfall, but for a short period of time, and very much.
Flooding has become an annual event for Nigerian cities, where it consistently causes economic problems in the rainy season. In the last few years, hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced and scores have died in the flood. But the question remains, why are some people not prepared for flooding despite predictions?
There is prediction for rainfall. What have we done? How many organizations desealed their environment, desealed their drains when it is about rain? Okay, this is the rainy season. We have to look at, in one of the management meetings, we will now say, okay, we have to look at our environment. Where do we have any blockage near us? Where waste disposal, is any waste being disposed that could cause any havoc in case it rains, and then it will fall into the manholes or into the drains and then block the waters from moving? So all this, we don't consider it. We are still waiting for somebody somewhere to come and do it for us. If we factor this into our plans, we will have evacuation centers. If you go to developed countries, there are evacuation centers. And when there is early warning, we said, okay, there is going to be heavy downpour and it can cause flooding. Those living in so and so area, please move to evacuation centers. You move. And when you get to evacuation centers, you have every facility there.
Nigeria has several dams along its rivers, ranging from huge hydroelectric stations to smaller constructions for irrigation and fishing. These structures can in theory help manage water levels, but in reality many have been poorly managed, contributing to the build-up of water levels, thus endangering nearby towns and villages. What about channelization of our waters for other uses?
We need to channel our water to an appropriate place where we can use it for tourism. Jabi Lake, it's a creation. It's not a natural lake. So we can also as well create something like that elsewhere so that we now channel the water. Now people go to Jabi Lake, they take boat and go around. So why can't we go channel the water around the city so that you can use it like River Thames in London, that you can cruise and go around London in 6 hours or more. So we arrest the water and use it for that purpose. We can also arrest the water and use it for dry season farming.
As floods continue to devastate areas of Nigeria year in, year out, the environmental, economic, and most importantly, the human toll is always very huge. Therefore, the need for all stakeholders to adopt strategies to curb the effect of flooding cannot be overstated.
We should know that the world is changing, and also there is a climate change, and we have to accept that climate change and then try as much as possible to own up to our environment, ensure that we keep our environment tidy, and the authorities also should devise means of waste disposal, especially canned bottles.
Our focus today on Weekend Deal will be on flooding in Nigeria and probable solutions to curbing its spread.
Flooding in Nigeria, and of course possible solutions. And whatever we say, however we look at it, we know that water is a natural thing, and water again does not have enemies, so we must always allow it to flow, follow its own course. But a lot of times, Aisha, you notice that some of the things that really happen that cause flooding, we also cause it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like blocking our drainage systems.
And we always believe, okay, it's rainy season, somehow the
water
rain
will
will
come
fade
out.
away.
Exactly.
It doesn't always happen. We're going to move up to Kaduna to get to find out the situation there. And I know that they went extra mile to actually connect flooding as something not just peculiar to Nigeria, but also across other nations. Let's see this.
Research has shown that extreme weather patterns caused by long-term global climate change increases the likelihood of flooding. With a number of large variations in the Earth's climate, which is as a result of human activities such as burning of fossil fuels, industrial activities, and lots more, thereby changing the balance of the climate system. The impact include warming temperatures, change in precipitation, increase in the frequency of intensity of some extreme weather events, and rise in sea levels. To this effect, according to the flood list, record shows that over 920 people have died in floods, landslide, and other related incidents worldwide in July 2021. This, it is said, has caused worst devastation in Nigeria. Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, had earlier predicted that there is going to be flooding disasters in many parts of the country, as homes were destroyed in recent floodings in states like Lagos, Jigawa, Kano, Kebbi, Sokoto, and others. Meanwhile, the rise of water level at River Kaduna to a red alert is a testimony of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency prediction of imminent flooding in prone areas such as Kigo Road, Ngorimi, and other regular access. Indiscriminate dumping of refuse in drainages is among human activities that make the situation worse.
Some people, they normally doesn't obey the rules, maybe by throwing refuse inside the drainage. And mostly this can happen in the night. We the youth of the environment, mostly in the afternoon when rain is falling, we normally stand outside to observe plenty places, so that if we catch someone want to throw refuse, we'll send it back to their homes.
Those people are trying to enforce boiler inside the gutter. Is that kind of midnight? That time all of us were sleeping, so we don't get any action to do. We try our best to that one during that night.
My major problem first is because of this drainage. And the drainage, people at night, some will come with their vehicle to dump something on this river. They will say that it's a river. Who asked me to come and build a... I've fought with so many people who asked me to come and build a house here.
There are some canals that channels to the river. When the river filled up, so the water have to come back to the canal. That is when it's affecting us here.
We like the area. We do business around this place. If we should relocate from this place, our business will be difficult for us, because we've been here for a long time now, chasing 20-something years.
General Manager, Kaduna Environmental Protection Agency, KEPA, warns of the dangers ahead as anyone caught in such act attracts punishment.
People to ensure that before you embark on any project, you must ensure constructing a standard drainage, as well as to stop indiscriminate dumping of waste in the drainage.
There are actually probable solutions to actually this flooding system, and one of it, I know, it's clearing our drainage system.
Yes, and I like what the man said, that there's going to be, penalty for disobeying and, contradicting what the law says. I wish we can actually have refuse marshals, that's what I call them, who will, capture people who dump refuse indiscriminately, because at the end of the day, and when they get them, the first thing we'll do is do psychiatric tests.
Exactly.
The way they do people that break laws.
I know.
And check their drug level. Because I don't understand why somebody will just go and dump things where they say water should flow. But then, even with all the predictions, what happens?
Exactly. You know, and talking about predictions, over the course of the week, Suleiman Babaji Usman caught up with NIMET DG, that is Nigeria Meteorological Agency. And they talked about rainfall predictions. You know, NIMET is saddled with the responsibility of predictions of rainfall and weather. So let's take a look at the chat.
Welcome to this session, Professor Su Bako Mutazu. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this session. And as the new DG of NIMET, I would like to know, was there any mandate given to you by the president?
Okay, thank you so much. Good day, Nigerians. As you rightly asked, the overall mandate given to me as a person and the organization in general is to align our operation programs and activities to the overall policy objectives of the present administrations, which is on improved service delivery, efficiency, and of course in the aviation industry, safety. NIMET is given a specific mandate. We align our activities, program, and policies in trying to achieve those policy objectives. We're mandated to provide weather and climate advisories to both the government and Nigerian citizens that cut across other rainfall-sensitive sectors, such as agriculture, water resources, defense, economic activities, and of course, constructions and other mandates given to us.
Now, just casting my back to the early part of the year, when the projection for the 2021 was, put out there for public consumption. Talk to us, kind of, reflect on the major highlights, and then also talk to us about the accuracy. How accurate would you say the projection has been?
Yeah, thank you so much. We issued out our forecast as early as February, precisely on 2nd February by our minister. And we do that in order to provide long-range live, what we call advanced time or lead time to the users and especially farmers of about 3 to 4 month advance information on how the rainfall pattern will be. Because, like for the southern part of the country, the season begins between March to April, and for the north between May to June. So the overall summary of that forecast was that the country will experience, and is already experiencing, of course we are witnessing this normal to above normal rainfall pattern. And in the growing season, we have different components, or what we call rainfall effectiveness. How effective is the rain? And in determining the effectiveness of the rainfall, there are other components of the rainfall, one of which is the onset, that's the beginning, there's the planting period, and we have the length of the season, we have the rainfall amount, and of course also the rainfall intensity, and also cessation period. So put these 4 or 5 components together, it gives you how quality the season is, and this is what also determines how that impact on agriculture, how it impacts on water resources, especially the management component of feed in reservoirs and on the ground season. So, and true to the forecast we've made, we are beginning to see normal to above normal activities happening in line with the prediction. So, and we have different methods in which we assess and evaluate the performance of our prediction, one of which is even the feedback from the users. So newspaper reporters and of course also media have been reporting a lot of above normal activities over Kano, in Katsina, in Bauchi, in Maiduguri of recent, and even around the FCT we have seen a lot of extreme events that leads to flash floods and riverine flood that wash away infrastructure, and even in Nasarawa close by. Just 3-4 days ago, the Abuja-Lokoja highway was flooded. And in addition to all this, we also provide some periodic updates in our short-range forecast. We provide high-impact forecast every 3 days. And we do also provide heavy rainfall forecast every 7 days. So this clearly brings out how imminent some of these extreme events are, and also provide advisories to the public and government institutions so that we mitigate the effects of this.
Okay, the focus obviously has helped a lot of people, to plan, because that's what you do. It's
exactly
to guide them, to warn them about the impending flood, where they should expect flood now as well. But a lot of times you realize that lives, property have always been, at the receiving end of this, predictions because of the, actions that follow. Is it that Nigerians don't pay attention to these predictions, or it's just something different that maybe you're not doing right?
Yeah, maybe I will just take us briefly back to the whole value chain of climate services, whereby you have 3 categories of players and all stakeholders. One of the category is our category, which we produce the forecast and early warning informations. And the second category are the enablers, because NIMED is a being scientific organization. We do all the scientific analysis from our historical data using the latest state-of-the-art instruments and equipments, and we produce the forecast. And we do that together with other stakeholders so that they provide an input. So this takes us to the second category of the players in the value cycle, and these are the enablers, those that serve as a relay, the medium and platforms whereby such advisories and information that emanate from the forecast are getting relayed to the main users. And these are people like organizations like NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, National Orientation Agency, including, of course, NTA and other media organizations. All these relevant MDAs consume our forecast and then relay it to their various users. So this takes us to the last mile, or the last bucket, that is the common users down the ladder. And these are fishermen, these are nomadics, and these are farmers, and of course urban and rural dwellers across the country. The feedback we're getting is we're having an excellent relationship with our various MDAs, but the problem is the response. How serious a common citizen takes a forecast. Average citizen should take our forecast very serious. We provide 24-hour basis forecast, and we also follow it with updates. But for people to now take it very serious, and then also, especially if there's any means which we provide also feedback. What is the performance of our forecast?
Now you're talking about the end users, and also you talk about the role of the enablers. Of course, they're expected to disseminate this information gotten from you.
Yes.
But when will there be that time that you sit back and rethink your process of communication? Because when you talk about the end users, the response from the end users, you say it's not quite encouraging from what you are saying. So
fairly.
Is it possible that they don't even understand the way the information is put across to them? Have you thought about, communicating to them in the local dialect, the language they understand, given the fact that you have about 70 to 80% of Nigerians who are farmers?
Okay, thank you so much. This is very interesting. Ab initio, we normally release our national forecast at the national level, whereby we invite all stakeholders across the country. But later on, we realize that such information at times ends up in officers' shelves. So we decided to come up with an initiation we call downscaling. So whereby national level focus is then we downscale it to state level, whereby we go down and expand the focus to local government level. And we can even go beyond local government to district level. We issue our forecast in English as early as February, and then also we've gone down to translate this forecast to local dialects so that such informations are getting more flexible, more user-friendly. And this is the Hausa version of the English. Thank you. While this is the Yoruba version of the forecast, and this covers all the 774 local governments of the federation. This is the Igbo version also. Yeah. So at the state level, when we go for this downscaling, we relate very well with the extension officers, and we release the information in the local dialects. And this helps us a lot in getting some feedback and in making us to adjust the forecast based on the demands of the users. One example is for each local government, we develop what is called crop calendar, climate crop calendar. So whereby we give a timetable of activities from onset to cessation, to the end of the rainy season. At what time you are supposed to plant, at what time you are supposed to weed, at what time you are supposed to apply fertilizer, at what time you're supposed to harvest.
All this information is available to the end users.
Very much available. It contained in the document, but we need effective partnership, especially with the state governments, to sustain. We are always very mindful of sustainability.
Are we already at the peak of rainy season?
Yes, very correct. Even in a normal year period between July to September, that is when the rainfall reaches peak, especially in the north. Nigeria, if you divide it into two, in the southern part of the country, they experience two peaks. One of the first peak between May to June, and then the second peak between September to October. But for the north, we are experiencing the peak, and that is why you have pockets of extreme events in form of flash floods, in form of riverine flood, and then for urban areas, we are having urban flooding due to concretization of surfaces and also destruction of vegetal cover. And for the south, those that are located close to the coast, they are experiencing inflow of the rivers from the north that is causing floods around such location, and also sea level rise is also causing sea surge and incursion. So we are at the peak of the rainfall events, whereby you have pockets of intensive shower, and you have also prolonged intermittent, at times, rains, and all this generates into high soil moisture that triggers floods events.
Now, it's interesting that, of course, this prediction is out there, and then it's assumed that the relevant sector, the agencies, or the end users have access to this information. But from your own, point of view, why do you always think that it's difficult, really, to move people living around the coastal area who are prone to, these flooders? Why is it always difficult to move them from their settlement to take them to a safer place?
Maybe that one you can go beyond science and look at an angle of sociology. And having lived in Niger State for almost 20 years, I can say floodplain communities, they have certain element of affinity. Maybe naturally affinity to the environment. You're born, you grow in that environment. So any distortion, whatever, even if it brings in benefits from that location, naturally human beings have such affinity to their own local environment. But when there is effective sensitization and involvement of communities in the decision making, especially when there is imminent floods, so the dams authorities that release some of these waters, when they give good early warning information, and then the relevant enablers in form of SEMAs and NEMA and the LEMAs at the local government level, and community and traditional rulers. So people can temporarily move out from that location, and at times come back during the dry season. And of course also if there is a strong plan, at times state government can sponsor relocation of such communities. So I think the underlying factor there is affinity. It's natural to human being, but you can bridge that gap by effective communication. And effective communication now has moved from top down to participatory communication. So when you involve the communities, when they understand the danger, and when they understand the benefit of moving.
Talk to the viewer about the reality of climate change as we wrap up this conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. As I've talked some few minutes ago, that climate change is a reality, and we're at NIMET here, we have established that locally there are local indicators of climate change in form of increasing extreme events of different weather parameters such as rainfall, temperature, thunderstorms, hailstorm, drought and dry spell occurrence in the country. These are all increasing in magnitude, frequency, and intensity. And this brings us to the level of adaptation and mitigations. We have three options. We adapt, we either adapt and mitigate, or we suffer. So, but the more adaptation and mitigation we engage in, the less suffering. So we'll be able to adapt to these changes. And of course also for Nigerians to continue to listen to the NIMET and also approach us from different angles. We provide services to all rainfall sensitive sectors, all climate sensitive sectors of the Nigerian economy. And if you do this, especially in agriculture, you tend to have increase in yield by more than 35%. And the last word from NIMET here is that climate change is a reality. We think globally that there is climate change, but we have to act locally in order to adapt and mitigate.
Thank you very much, Professor Azubako Wakazu. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you.
That's all for now.
Quite in-depth from the NIMET CEO. And, my takeaway there, he said we have three options. Either we adapt, we mitigate, or we suffer. And I want to say that I have just two options. To adapt and mitigate, because I don't want to suffer.
No, not at all.
Sometimes we talk about human activities in ensuring that we are comfortable or not comfortable. The truth is, it's not just the dumping in the gutters that block drainages. Some other people think, okay, it's my entitlement, it's my right. I can actually put up a structure here. Have you experienced that?
Exactly, yes. Because they feel that sometimes, this thing of feeling, okay, I should just go and build here. I want to move from home. I've now grown and all that, so I should just find a place and just build there. And building in a flooded prone area is one of the things that actually cause this disaster.
All right, we have with us in the studio a man who is going to be doing a lot of questions and answer with us, and of course we invite you as well to join us and ask the question alongside. The senator is seated here, but we will be going to Lagos. When we come back, we have our discussion with him. Let's go to Lagos and find out the flooding situation there.
Lagos, popularly known as the city of aquatic splendor, just like any coastal city in the world, is prone to flood and flooding activities. Simply described as the overflow of water that submerges land that is usually dry, flooding in Lagos usually gives its residents sleepless nights.
If you walk to many streets and they don't have better gutter, so I think that's what is causing the flood.
When we have a kind of overwhelming flood on the waterways, every driver is advised to ply the road with every caution. When you know your visibility is no more clear, you are advised to park off the road.
With an estimated population of over 20 million people, those living within flood-prone areas and coastlines often experience major floods, especially at the peak of the rainy season or torrential rainfalls. Major parts of the metropolis and suburbs are flooded with submerged roads, buildings and other structures, leading to massive structural destruction, despite government efforts to construct more drainage systems.
Lagos is a low-lying littoral body, and it's a low-lying littoral coastal body, and it's a state that has been largely battered when it comes to the land use. The truth about the matter is that I personally believe that the government should actually be more proactive, and they should be more decisive about what they are doing concerning the master plan of Lagos State. Because you see, the problem that happened to Lagos State right from around the early 90s down to now is repeating itself. That cycle is repeating itself. And what was the problem? The problem was that the government left the plan and the building of the urban fabric of the city to the private sector. And because there was no master plan being followed, people were just building anyhow, doing whatever they like, and just, reclaiming wetlands and just building on wetlands and obstructing the natural course of water flows that nature has already provided for the state, and increasing the pressure of water during the high season, high tidal seasons on the counterpart places that surround those areas.
With the perennial flooding and challenges of rain patterns as a result of climate change, dredging activities block drainage channels and canals, which are the major focus of the state government, there is a need for robust town planning and layout design to forestall structures being erected on canals or floodplain with no regards for environmental impact assessments.
There is a need for government to be decisive and to be, to work towards enforcement to ensure that whatever the private sector is doing to assist with the residential deficit in the state should be done in accordance to the master plan. There needs to be a proper education of the populace. Now, you see, one thing that generally ticks me off on a consistent basis is when we keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. The moment the people who are the greatest hit members of society when it comes to environmental degradation are not aware of the consequences of the ills that they themselves cause, these people will continually engage themselves in activities that will destroy the environment and invariably destroy their own lives.
Managing present-day and future flooding should involve a combination of risk avoidance and risk reduction activities, such as introducing better flood warning systems, constructing building above flood levels, introduce water storage areas, create floodplains and overflow areas for rivers, and adhere strictly to town planning layouts. Where all these are put in place and observed regularly, flooding and its attendant challenges would be reduced to a barest minimum in our environment.
We should always strive to be proactive instead of reactive, especially when we talk about this flood. Last week or some weeks back, when we saw the flood in Lagos, I've never experienced that. It actually scared me. It was online all over. And did you get to see it?
Oh, I actually saw it, and I was very scared, because I have relations in Lagos. I kept asking, I hope you guys are safe, stuff like that. But speaking of Lagos, I know that I already told you that I have a guest who will be joining us. He's seated, and he's quite familiar with Lagos and has actually done a lot of things in Lagos, which we intend to probably kickstart our conversations with him today. But let me quickly introduce the former Chief Whip of the Senate, former Chairman for the Committee on Environment, former Chairman Committee on the Niger Delta, a whole lot of things. And I also know that one thing he has been and has remained is a geologist. Join me as I welcome Senator Kazeem Oyofu. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. How are you all?
We're very good. We're very good. And I know that once upon a time you were in Ajah area in Lagos.
Yes.
And at a point you moved to another axis still within the island.
Yeah.
And I asked a little bit, why is he moving and his house are not moving with him? He said there was a prediction by him. I don't know. Talk to us about that. What was the prediction?
Well, thank you very much. In the course of years, I have spoken on various occasions concerning future happenings, some of which we are experiencing today, and more that will be coming.
More to be coming?
A lot will be coming, worse than what you are seeing. So my aim today, really, if you don't mind, is to set the framework for the greater understanding of what is happening around the world. It's not just Lagos or Nigeria or Plateau or wherever that is going to be involved. We're in a period on this earth that people must understand. Otherwise, they get everything wrong, and that will be terribly disastrous. Some people will say drainages are blocked. What about places that have drainages that are not blocked? Are they not Germany? Did they block their drainages? Did they break the in Europe that we just saw in July? No. So let me set the pattern. Let me set the framework, which everybody should understand what is going on, and moving forward, what they can do to help themselves. You all know, you have heard, irrespective of what religion you belong to, or you have none, you know that God rules the world. You know that. And you know that he has told you that a time will come when you will be judged. This is the time we are in now. This earth is being purified. Everything that is wrong will be swept away, including all the evil in us. If you think of what we are doing, you will see that it is the evil. For example, does a normal human being want to block drainage?
Nope.
Does he not know that this drainage, if he blocks it, will affect him?
Definitely.
Does a normal human being remove the cover on the manhole on the road? So the weaknesses in us are being amplified so that we either correct ourselves or we destroy ourselves. That's the point we are in. When you are building, there is a plan to build. The man will change the plan and block the drainage road. But to do that, he has to go and see somebody somewhere who will give him approval. The man giving approval, not knowing that he's doing something wrong.
He does know.
He's looking at temporary interest. So that is because of the weakness in us. What the world should be aware of is not about climate change. I will talk about that. It's not all these things they are talking about. No, it is above them. People in the Himalaya, which is very, very high, thousands of feet above sea level, they flood. And so it's not about because you live near water. This is about the judgment of the world. Everybody who is doing something wrong will pay for it. And that is what we are doing. Even if Lagos is flooding, some people will not die. Those who will die, if they are living on the high mountain, they will come to the floodplain on that day. The same will happen in Abuja here. I've spoken about it in the last few weeks. So it is no longer a prediction. It is something that is written in the book of the Apocalypse, which you call the book of Revelation. It's not new. It's just that you don't follow it. You don't want to follow it, and you don't want to listen to it. So this is what we are giving a taste of it.
Now, I mean, you are taking it from a different angle.
That is why I came.
Yeah.
It's
So
not to repeat.
what are we going to do? Because you said you're going to say it so that we can know what to do to mitigate, like the CEO said.
Thank you very much. You must return to the rules of the one who created you. Everybody acts as if he's independent of himself. We all act as if we own ourselves. You don't. Go back to basics. Good and bad reside in you. Good and bad reside in you. Adjust your mind to doing what is good, and things will change for you. Rain does not just fall. Rain is controlled by the one who created you, by his agents. There are 4 things that are going to be very prominent, which will be seen in time to come. One is the increase in activity of water It can be in the form of rain. It can be in the form of storm. You will see increase in activity of wind, which can take many forms, destroying anything. You will see increase in activity in the form of fire. It will burn many places. You can see it in California. They all are thinking they know what is wrong. They are employing firemen. All that is not part of it. You must adjust yourself. You will see the increase in activity of the earth itself, volcanic eruptions. All this will begin. And what we are seeing in Lagos or wherever is to give man warning so that they can mend their ways, so that perhaps they can still be helped. We don't own ourselves. And until we get back to the way of the Lord, you can never escape from what you are doing. Never.
Well, still, before we continue talking about the flood and everything, there is a report on channelization of our waters. Maybe it's a probable solution to this flood system. So let's go on this report put together by Wali.
still Weekend Deal, and we're talking about flooding. We just saw a bit of a channelization of our waters. That's for me a case of when nature gives you lemon, you can make lemonade out of it. Whatever happens to you, you can always turn your story around by ensuring the waters, we can make money off it. Why not? So there's water. When we're small, we all enjoyed, when it's raining, we go out there and rain. When it's flooded, we take our boats, man-made boats, and rain, go away.
Come on, another day.
Yes. So a bit of reactions from the audience. Maybe you will take the questions. Say most of the flood-related problems are man-made, which can be controlled if necessary steps are taken. That's coming from Akinola Olo Lade in Kwara State, Ilori precisely. I want to pick up from what he said, and you already made a mention of the fact that a lot of times weaknesses are used. Now, not to allow those weaknesses to come to fore, what can we do pending, whatever it is that is destiny or not destiny, to mitigate, to ensure that while we are still here on this earth, we don't get to be drowned by water, by our own activities?
Yes, that's a good question, Akiola. First, there is nobody who does not know right and wrong. Keeping your environment clean should be natural to you. There are even some homes, you go there, you could find it difficult to sit down.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yes, so they just must keep what you can do. And as they say, then leave the rest for God. But they are not helping themselves. Go to average people. Look at people who consume pure water. They immediately stamp the paper on the ground. So the change has to be in us. Then you may then expect a compensating value from nature. Underline my word, a compensating value. If you do, that's why they say heaven helps those who help themselves.
Yes.
If you do what is good, you will get the value for it. And that is what can make us all mitigate the disasters that are coming. We haven't seen anything yet.
We haven't seen anything yet.
Nothing. We have seen nothing.
Well, it is said that about 70% of the world is water. And definitely, no matter what, flood is bound to happen. So as a geologist yourself, how do you think we can actually maneuver our way in order to see that we live within means in a way that this flood doesn't really affect us?
Aisha, maneuvering is the wrong way.
Okay.
Live aright. Live aright in everything you do with your neighbor. And then the Lord himself will take care of you. What can you maneuver within the scheme of things? I said to you that this earth is going to change. It will open up. It will swallow cities and its people.
But how do we prevent that?
You can't, because the evil in you is making it happen. You have to change yourself. Look at Nigeria today. Are you not hearing people crying? Can their suffering not be mitigated? Though anybody who has a position of advantage thinks it is God who made him so. And he uses it for himself and for his family and maybe to his friends. But on the other hand, he doesn't know he's drinking poison.
All right, now, before we leave, our aim here is always that of solution. Maybe a word or two on our practices, to ensure that the calamity which you have been predicting. By the way, your house in Ajah, you're not going to claim it back?
No, my house is, the face has changed.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
Because you think there will be flooding to claim it?
No. Let me correct. Flooding, it is going to be an act of love. It will separate the evil from the good. There is nobody who is evil. Whether you live on the top of the mountain can claim you. Volcanic eruptions takes place in upland. Huh? He can claim you. You cannot escape the judgment of God. The point you need to know, my dear reason, is that you have to change your way. You have to change your way. I've given you version in the Quran because I know you are a Muslim. So you can go and see what is written there. So you take it as your daily watch. When you share, give man what you yourself take for yourself. That way you will have the support of the light with you. Jesus told you the same thing. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Do you see love anywhere in Nigeria? Do you? You must be able to answer yourself. Don't say because you gain from something that is unfair and support it. No, you have to.
All right, thank you very much, Senator. We've been talking with Senator Victor Kazim Oyofo, and he is a geologist, and I'm also discovering he's a preacher. And with that, we go to where we're going to next.
We go on a break, and when we come back, the program continues.
And the show will be wrapping up, but let's just quickly take this one. It says improper dumping of refuse is only 1%, while disobedience to Allah carries 99%. We should expect more flood if we don't change our ways. Yes, if we don't change your ways, think about your safety, dispose your refuse the way it should, then we will have more problem. And I still have the senator seated with us. By the way, what's your club side? Which board? You like football, by the way?
I like football because of my children.
Okay, because of your
last night
children.
we were beaten. My team was beaten.
Your team was beaten?
Was beaten by a newcomer.
Oh.
2-0.
What's your team?
Arsenal.
And who beat them?
Brentford, an unknown quantity.
You must be very patient.
For 74 years.
I know for a fact, Arsenal fans are very patient.
Okay.
What can we do?
And I think they lost the match yesterday.
Yes, they did. All right, so we will be here again tomorrow. Let's hope that there will be better game. See you. Thank you very much. All right, bright and early tomorrow.
Bye.